When we talk about aging, the conversation almost always starts with the external. Wrinkles, joints, skin elasticity, gray hair. The mirror becomes our measurement. But what we often fail to realize is that the mirror isn't the first place aging shows up. It's the last. Long before it appears in the face, it appears in the posture of the spirit, in how a person speaks about the future, in the level of hope they carry in their voice, in whether they walk with intention or just routine. Aging, at its deepest level, is psychological before it's physical. And that insight changes everything. You can't separate the mind from the body. The two are engaged in a constant, bidirectional conversation. What you believe, what you expect, what you emotionally anticipate. These things are not just vague mindsets. They are instructions delivered chemically to your cells. And your cells listen. Your physiology listened. There is ample evidence in neurobiology and psychoneuroimmunology that your thoughts don't stay in your head. They become biology. Chronic negative emotion doesn't just weigh on the heart metaphorically. It accelerates systemic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is one of the fastest roads to visible aging. Now consider the opposite. Consider someone who believes life is still full of potential, who expects to grow, who sees every decade not as decline, but as deeper expansion. That belief becomes a biological signal. Dopamine levels adjust. Cortisol reduces. Telomere decay slows. Neural plasticity remains. All of this contributes not just to feeling younger, but quite literally being younger at a cellular level. And here's the point. This isn't some fluffy self-help ideology. It's science. Belief shapes biology. This is why two people of the same age can walk into a room and radiate entirely different energies. One seems old. The other seems timeless. And the difference is not always in what they eat or how often they go to the gym. It's in their internal blueprint. One has surrendered to the cultural story that aging is a linear decline. The other has rewritten that story. And the body follows the story it's given. This is where youth really begins. Not in the mirror, but in the mental architecture that dictates how we interpret our lives. And let's go even deeper. Because the belief system that shapes youth isn't just about positivity. It's not about pretending everything is okay. That can be just as draining. It's about engagement with life. The brain thrives on novelty, on meaning, on growth. When you stop learning, stop being curious, stop challenging your identity, you accelerate decline. Not because you're biologically broken, but because you've told your system that the expansion phase is over, and the system obeys. A youthful mind doesn't mean immaturity. It means openness. Openness to ideas, to people, to possibility. That openness feeds the nervous system. It keeps the pathways of growth lit up. But what happens in so many people is a gradual closing. Disappointment turns into bitterness. Failure turns into identity. Setbacks turn into resignation. That psychological rigidity becomes the breeding ground for decay. Mentally, emotionally, and yes, physically. Because when the mind stagnates, the body soon follows. So the real vitamin here isn't something you swallow. It's something you realize. Youthfulness starts in your narrative. What story are you telling about aging? What do you believe is still possible? What are you still reaching for? If your answer is nothing, if your ambitions have been traded for routines, then no skincare product in the world is going to compensate for what's been surrendered at the level of consciousness. And for men and women who are older, this is the part you need to hug. The culture will try to convince you that your best is behind you, that your influence, your relevance, your attractiveness, your power, all of it peaked in your 30s. But that narrative only serves industries that sell anti-aging through fear. You don't need to fight aging. You need to redefine it. See it as a deepening, not a decline. And when you do, something extraordinary happens. You stop looking older. You start becoming an archetype, someone people want to learn from, be around, be influenced by. Not because you're trying to be young again, but because your energy refuses to conform to the script of decline. So if you're truly serious about looking younger, start by thinking younger. But not in the sense of reverting to immaturity or denying reality. Think younger in the sense of choosing engagement over apathy, curiosity over cynicism, and purpose over passivity. Because ultimately, the first sign of aging isn't in the mirror. It's when you stop believing that you still have something remarkable to become. Most people think of regeneration as something external. Spa weekend, a supplement treatment. And while those things may offer short-term relief, they don't initiate the kind of deep, systemic repair that keeps a human being youthful over time. True regeneration, the kind that rejuvenates the body and sharpens the mind, happens during rest. But not just sleep in the mechanical sense. I'm talking about conscious, intentional recovery. What I call vitamin R, regeneration through rest. It's not a pill you take. It's a discipline you cultivate. The body is not designed to run continuously. Yet, in modern society, we wear burnout like a badge of honor. We confuse exhaustion with productivity. We mistake being busy for being valuable. And in the process, we deny the body its most powerful natural tool, the ability to heal itself. That healing, that deep cellular reset, only happens when we step out of survival mode. Only then does the body switch from protection to growth, from defense to repair. The nervous system operates on two main pathways, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic system is the fight or flight response. It's vital when you need to survive, but most people live there constantly. Hypervigilant, anxious, rushing, reacting. In that state, your body diverts resources away from long-term health in order to handle immediate threats, real or perceived. That means digestion is impaired. Hormonal balance is disrupted. Inflammation increases and aging accelerates because the body, when stuck in stress mode, doesn't think about longevity. It thinks about you right now. Now, here's the key insight. Sleep is not just the absence of consciousness. It's the presence of repair. But not all sleep is created equal. If your mind is still running loops, ruminating, worrying, strategizing, then your sleep may be shallow. You're unconscious, but not restored. It's like putting your phone on charge and waking up to find the battery is still at 30%. That's how most people live. They're depleted, but they don't know why. They think they need more stimulation. What they need is a deep recovery. You see this in people who are chronically tired despite getting enough hours in bed. Their issue isn't duration, it's quality. And quality sleep is only possible when the nervous system has been trained to let go. That means practicing rituals of disconnection. That means giving the mind permission to stop performing. It means understanding that regeneration is not laziness. It's leadership over your own biology. The ancient Stoics understood this. They spoke often of rest, not as escape, but as preparation. Because when you're rested, you don't just feel better, you AC better. Your decision-making improves, your resilience increases, you're more patient, more perceptive, more emotionally balanced. These are not just psychological benefits. They are the foundations of vitality. And let's not forget the science. During deep sleep, your brain engages in something called glymphatic drainage, a kind of internal detox where neurotoxins are flushed out. Human growth hormone is also released at its highest levels. That hormone is directly linked to tissue repair, muscle strength, bone density, and yes, youthful appearance. You cannot buy growth hormone in a bottle that replicates what your body will give you for free if you allow it to rest. But it goes deeper because rest isn't just physical. It's mental. It's emotional. It's spiritual. If you're constantly consuming information, constantly reacting to the demands of others, constantly tethered to devices, your system never gets to reset. And when the system doesn't reset, it degrades, slowly, subtly, until one day you wake up and wonder where your energy went, why your skin looks tired, why your passion for life feels dulled. This is not just aging. This is the cost of ignoring recovery, of skipping the internal rituals that recharge your life force. And I use that word deliberately, life force, because that's really what's at stake. Your vitality is not just a function of what you eat or how often you exercise. It's a reflection of how well you honor the cycles of push and pull, action and stillness, striving and surrender. There is a myth in our culture that rest is earned, that you work yourself to the bone, and then maybe you deserve a break. But the truth is rest is not earned. It's required. And if you don't take it intentionally, your body will take it from you eventually in the form of illness, fatigue, depression, or premature aging. So the question isn't whether you're getting enough sleep. The question is whether your system is getting the signal that it's safe to regenerate it. Whether you are creating space, not just to disconnect from the world, but to reconnect with yourself. Because at the end of the day, regeneration is not an indulgence. It's the foundation that keeps you alive, aware, and fully human. If you want to understand why some people seem to age slowly while others deteriorate rapidly, you have to stop looking only at genetics, skincare routines, or dietary trends. You have to look at meaning. Because one of the most overlooked biological nutrients isn't a vitamin you can buy. It's purpose. I refer to it as vitamin MQ, meaning fuels metabolism. And that's not a metaphor. It's a fact grounded in both psychology and biology. People with purpose age differently. Their bodies interpret time, energy, and even stress through a different lens. Meaning acts as a central organizing principle for the nervous system. When your life has direction, when your actions are aligned with something greater than yourself, your body responds with coherence. The immune system functions more optimally. Inflammation lowers. Cognitive function improves. You sleep deeper. You recover faster. You live longer. It's not magic. It's alignment. The body thrives when it knows why it's doing what it's doing. Now compare that to someone who is aimless, someone whose days blur together into a monotonous loop of distraction and obligation. The body senses this lack of orientation. It recognizes that it's moving, but not toward anything. And what happens when energy is spent with no internal reward, no sense of progress, no emotional resonance? The body begins to degrade. It becomes confused, directionless, fatigued. And that fatigue is not just mental. It's cellular. You see this frequently in people who retire without a deeper plan. Within a few years, their health declines not because they stopped working, but because they stopped mattering. Not to others, necessarily, but to themselves. They lost the reason they were waking up in the morning. And without a reason, the body quietly shuts systems down. It's a slow surrender. Energy systems that once had fire in them go dormant because there's no internal signal saying that we still have something to build. This isn't just anecdotal. Viktor Frankl, the Austrian neurologist and Holocaust survivor, spoke often about the human capacity to endure suffering when it is embedded in meaning. It's the difference between carrying a heavy load willingly versus being crushed by the same weight without understanding why. And the body knows the difference. You can feel it in how you walk, how you breathe, how you show up in your relationships. People who have meaning carry themselves with an energy that doesn't just suggest youth. It produces it. But what exactly is meaning? It's not something you stumble across. It's not handed to you. It's something you must choose. And more than that, it's something you must build. It requires effort, sacrifice, attention, and often pain. Because anything meaningful is going to demand something from you. It doesn't come cheap. That's why so many people trade it in for comfort, for convenience, for entertainment. But those things don't make you younger. They make you numb. And numbness is the precursor to decay. When your life lacks meaning, your habits reflect that. You begin to eat without intention, move without purpose, speak without awareness, relate without depth. And each of those things compounds. You might still be functioning, but you're no longer alive. And that lifelessness, that shows up in the body, in your eyes, your posture, your energy. You can't hide it. You can try with fashion or fillers or fitness, but the body tells the truth. It either radiates vitality or it broadcasts resignation. People often chase external solutions because they're terrified to admit they feel empty inside. They change jobs, partners, hobbies, cities, trying to outrun the inner void. But you can't outrun meaninglessness. You can only confront it. And in that confrontation, you either find your path or create one. That act alone of consciously choosing something to live for reorients your biology. It gives your system something to work for, something to defend, something worth preserving. And that makes all the difference. The paradox, of course, is that meaning requires you to age in the most honorable way possible. It asks you to grow, to shed old identities, to stop living as a reaction and start living as a contribution. You may have to let go of youthful illusions, but in exchange, you gain depth, you gain presence, and presence is timeless. So if you're searching for a way to look younger, to feel more alive, don't start with your diet or your doctor. Start with your direction. Ask yourself not what's next, but what matters. And then organize your life around the answer. Because meaning is more than a psychological comfort. It's the signal your body needs to know it's still worth growing.